Hidden in the heart of northern France between St Omer and the Aar River lies a landscape shaped by water and by people for more than 1,000 years. This is the Marais Audomarois, a place where land and water dance together. But this marsh didn't appear by accident. At first, a wild waterlogged depression fed by the river Aar and the shifting seas of the North European plain, it became humanized beginning in the Middle Ages. Around 1100, monks and local inhabitants began the first drainage works, digging canals to carry away water and reclaim fertile soil from the swamp. Over the centuries, this transformed an unruly marsh into one of Europe's most remarkable wetland landscapes. For generations, families here have farmed these fields, nurturing vegetables that became regional icons, like the cauliflower that made St Omer famous, while mastering the delicate balance between land and flood. This extraordinary story of human ingenuity has been recognized in 2013 as a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve. In 2 days, I will hike 48 kilometers in this area, starting at the Maison du Marais in St Omer. I slept at Camping du Val-Joli near the town of Watten. Ready? Let's go! The Blockhaus d'Éperlecques is one of the largest military bunkers built by Nazi Germany during World War II in northern France. Hidden deep in the forest of Pas-de-Calais, Construction began in March 1943 under the German codename Kraftwerk Nordwest. It was designed as a massive launch facility for V-2 ballistic missiles, capable of storing over 100 rockets and firing dozens per day at cities like London. Thousands of forced laborers and prisoners were used to build this fortress of concrete with walls and roofs up to 5 meters thick, intended to withstand Allied bombing. But the Allies soon discovered the site through aerial reconnaissance and launched repeated attacks as part of Operation Crossbow. Heavy bombing from August 1943 onward damaged the bunker so severely that it never fulfilled its purpose as a launch base. The Germans modified the complex to produce liquid oxygen for mobile V-2 units, but by mid-1944 the project was abandoned. The facility was captured by Canadian troops in September 1944, and its true intent only fully understood after the war. The weather report promised scorching hot weather, so I decided to start early. The day began with a climb of Mount Watten. The first landmark I saw was the 18th century stone windmill, the Moulin de la Montagne. Perched on a hill, the Abbaye de Watten has a history that stretches back more than 1,000 years. The story begins in 874, when a small chapel dedicated to Saint Riquier was built on the hilltop overlooking the A River Valley. But the settlement was destroyed by Viking raids in 881, leaving the area in ruins. Nearly 2 centuries later, a priest named Ulfried founded a monastery on the same site with the support of the Counts of Flanders. Over time, it grew wealthy through land donations and religious influence across the region. The abbey was also closely connected to one of the most powerful rulers of medieval Flanders, Thierry of Alsace, supported the monastery and often stayed there. After his death in 1168, he was buried at the abbey, making it an important site in the history of Flanders. However, the abbey's strategic position between France and Flanders made it vulnerable. Throughout the Middle Ages, it suffered repeated wars, fires and destruction, and was even completely ruined in 1437 before being rebuilt. The Hill of Watten was not only religious, it was also strategic. Because it overlooked the surrounding plains and waterways, it became a military stronghold in the 17th century. During the wars between France and Spain, the famous military engineer Vauban transformed the hill into the Fort of Watten, building fortifications around the old abbey. Over time, much of the monastery was dismantled, leaving only the 15th century tower and parts of the wall standing today. The ruins of Abbey of Saint-Bertin were once part of one of the most powerful monasteries in medieval Europe. The abbey was founded in 649 by St Omer, who sent 3 monks to evangelize the region. One of them, Saint Bertin, became the monastery's most influential leader. Under his guidance, the abbey grew rapidly and eventually took his name. By the 8th and 9th centuries, the abbey had become a major religious and intellectual center in the Carolingian Empire. Its monks produced manuscripts and important historical records, including the famous Annales Bertiniani, a key source for understanding early medieval Europe. The abbey was also closely tied to royal power. Several powerful figures of the Carolingian dynasty were buried there, including Charles the Bald, grandson of Charlemagne, who was laid to rest at the abbey after his death in 877. Over the centuries, the monastery grew into a vast complex of churches, libraries, and cloisters. Everything changed during the French Revolution. The abbey was dissolved, its property confiscated, and much of the complex was dismantled and sold for building materials. Today, only the towering Gothic ruins remain.
Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I see you in the next one.